Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Beer vs. Ivy. I'm your co-host, Steiner Stahl. Joining me with my also amazing co-host, Jackson Gross. Jackson, how are we doing today?
I'm doing real good, Cy. It has been a fun weekend so far, and I'm excited to be back here on another great Monday doing Beer vs. Ivy. I covered my first NBA game yesterday. It was Bulls and Bucks preseason game. Bucks were able to pull it out after some near late game heroics from some of the Bulls two-way guys, but it was a good game overall. Got to talk to Malik Beasley, Marjon Beauchamp, Ty Washington. So great day overall, and it's been good.
Love hearing that.
How are you, Cy?
I'm doing pretty good. My other bird team is disappointing me right now in the playoffs. It's cold outside, and I don't really mess with the cold. But outside of those, life's amazing. Can't complain.
It's been real good, and I think we have a special guest joining us. Is that right, Cy?
Yes, we do. So, with that said, we're welcoming on our very own writer from Third Down Thursdays, Johnnie Black. Johnny, how are you?
I'm doing well. Like I said before, the Twins finally took a game from Houston, so we're at 1-1. Now it's a best of three, and we got home field advantage. So I'm feeling pretty good. We got the monkey off our back last series, so that was definitely good.
That Pablo Lopez for Luis Arias trades is looking real good right now.
Oh yeah. I was happy when they did it. I mean, I love Arias, and he's a good hitter and everything, but we needed the starting pitching. We didn't need more bats. You know, the Twins tied for first in the American League in home runs this year. We don't need more hitters, but we definitely need a pitcher of Lopez's stature, who's only 27 years old right now, and someone like that who can come in and face Houston and shut them down for 7 innings. I'll take it.
Few have tried it, and even fewer have succeeded. So that's a great thing to see for the Twins, at least that standpoint.
Oh yeah, let's hope Sonny Gray follows that up tomorrow. So
Sonny Gray's too good.
You're just saying that because he's hoping you'll be on the Cardinals next year. That's all I'm hearing right now.
Fingers crossed, but we're not getting into that today.
So, but before we even talk about some of the divisional series that are going on right now, we have to recap how we got here. Let's do a little wild card whip around. Johnny, since we've already been talking about the Twins a little bit, we'll start with your squad. How the heck did they finally win a playoff game and win a playoff series to now be in a 1-1 tie with the defending champs?
Well, again, it was the pitching, Lopez and Gray. You know, and Toronto couldn't hit. They made a couple base running blunders. The biggest one, obviously, being Vlad getting picked off second. I mean, Twins only put up 5 runs that series in those 2 games, so it's not like they were killing the ball. But they made it work. The defense, Correa made 2 great plays. One with the pickoff, one with throwing Bichette out at home after it got past Polanco at third base. You know, so it was defense and pitching that got it done. And I think that's what we're going to need against Houston as well.
Yeah, the Twins looked just absolutely fantastic. What are you thinking about Twins play during that series?
You cannot go wrong. Their defensive pitching was on point. However, I will say the Blue Jays did not help. Jose Barrios was shutting you guys down in game 2, but he got taken after only 47 pitches to put Yusei Kikuchi in. And then that's when, if I remember correctly, the Twins took the lead. So, I mean, there were some questionable decisions by the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays were playing very sloppy, but the Twins did play very good. When you have the pitching, like we have pitchers like Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray, you're going to win games.
Yeah, so that was a absolutely fun series to see. Let's go ahead and move on to the last series of the AL wild card, and that would be, I think, someone consider an upset with the Texas Rangers knocking out the Tampa Bay Rays and that motherfucker Randy Arozarena. Again, we thought the pitching would be a concern, especially with a lot of the injuries that the Rangers had suffered. But Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi shut down the Rays offense. And as we're going to get into later when we talk about our MVPs, the Rangers are just a hitting machine. Like those $300 million and $200 million contracts are working out real well for them.
You're not wrong at all. Corey Seager, a dog. Evan Carter, a dog. Jordan Montgomery, 7 innings, a shutout ball in game 1, a dog. Like the Rangers had everything rolling. You could not stop them.
What's the biggest thing that stuck out to you guys?
I think it's Evan Carter, to be honest with you. I mean, you would expect guys like Seager, Semien, guys like that to produce in the playoffs. But this kid, Evan Carter, has been in the major leagues, a month? He just turned 21. And for him to go out and hit like he did against the Rays, no less. Now, granted, the Rays have a ton of, starting pitching injuries between McClanahan, Springs, Rasmussen, and all that stuff. But their bullpen is still top notch. And they scored the second most runs in the AL next to the Rangers. So you would have expected them to do some hitting. But I like this kid, Evan Carter, man. He's just having fun right now. And those guys are scary in the playoffs. He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah,
I agree completely. Evan Carter was crazy. He was the perfect complement to a Marcus Semien and a Corey Seager.
Yeah, and I think Jonah Heim, I think a lot of people are figuring out who Jonah Heim is. I mean, he's been supremely underrated all season, not only as a hitter, but as a catcher too. Obviously, when we talk about the division series, he had that big play in game 1. But I think I'm becoming a big, not only Evan Carter fan, but a big Jonah Heim fan to be able to switch it. He feels like the perfect modern day catcher who can hit a little bit, play some good defense, and can hurt you from either side of the plate.
And they still have Mitch Garver as their backup, which I think a lot of people forget on.
Yeah, ex-twin Mitch Garver.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's all right. We got Ryan Jeffers. I have no problem with that. And Christian Vasquez, so I'm fine with that. But it was nice to see Garver hit that grand slam yesterday. So happy for him. He's kind of a late bloomer. I think he only made it to the major league when he was 29 years old. But always liked him. I like to see the ex-twins doing well elsewhere.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes some guys a while just to figure it out. And just as a side note for myself, love using Mitch Garver and MLB The Show as a power hitting catcher or DH. So just always been a fan, and I'm glad to see he's on a really good, even further now, a really good contending team. But let's go ahead and move on to the National League side of things. And the biggest upset predicted by our guy Cy with being the Arizona Diamondbacks going into Milwaukee to sweep the NL Central champion Brewers. Cy, do you want to just go ahead and take your victory lap right now for predicting this series perfectly?
Man, everybody, I did not predict it completely perfectly. I was predicting Diamondbacks in 3, ended up being Diamondbacks in 2, but you just gotta let the kids play. Freddie Peralta got showed game 2. Corbin Burns got showed around game 1. Just the Diamondbacks, everything right. Small ball, long ball, defense. Brandon Vaught didn't suck that much in game 1. Zach Gallen did his thing and be an ace in game 2. Just everything was going Diamondbacks' way. And I love to see it. You gotta let the kids play.
Yeah, it was fantastic effort by the Diamondbacks. I mean, and who can forget that play in game 1? Just Johnny, how big was that play by Evan Longoria to snag that one? I think it was from, was it Bryce Taylor or Bryce Terang to get that double play?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How big of a play that was that?
Well, it's huge because especially for someone like Longoria, who's kind of on the back end of his career, and he's bounced around a little bit the past couple of years. He was in San Francisco before, after he left Tampa Bay. But for them to get someone like him, like a veteran who's been there, done that, that type of thing. I mean, to show him, look, this is how it's done. It was a great play and all, but I mean, just having that, doing it on the field, not just saying it in the dugout, I think got the guys like fired up. You know what I mean? Look, the old man could still do it, so let's get this done. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So yeah, presence. I did have the Brewers taking it in 3 games, but I said in my article of the preview that the Brewers had to win game 1 because losing Brandon Woodruff going into that series, they were going to have a tough time. They needed Burns to pitch like an ace, and they needed to take that game 1 against Brandon Pfaadt, the 3rd worst of the 3 they were going to face if it went 3, and they couldn't do that. So it doesn't surprise me if Diamondbacks won.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly say I will have a caveat. I didn't know Brandon Woodruff was going to be injured heading into that series when I made my prediction, so I'm going to give myself a mulligan on that. But Sai, go ahead.
I was going to add to the Evan Longoria hype. I think a lot of people forget he was a 3-time Gold Glove winner, so he's been known in his days back for Rays. His defense has always been there. So seeing that he can still do that at 37, like you guys said, it's not just the kids at this point. Like the vet had to have his moment too. So you just love to see it. You just love to see it.
Yeah, and I think he's like one of like a handful of guys who even has any playoff experience on that Diamondbacks roster. I think obviously Lourdes Gurriel, I think, has some playoff experience. I don't know. Does Ketel Marte have any playoff experience? I mean, outside of that, it's it. And I mean, Paul Sewell, another guy who's playoff experience, obviously with the Mariners. So it's impressive to see. And how about Corbin Carroll? Like, and shout out to the Diamondbacks GM for getting him. I think it was like a 6-year or 8-year, $118 million contract. And he's going to outplay that contract for the entire term of that deal. Like, that dude is just an insane power speed threat. And just to throw it on top, he's a lefty, so that's just going to make your life even harder in trying to get him out, even if he gets jammed.
He's so good. Like no words for Corbin Carroll. He is just so talented.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable that he's so good at such a young age. I mean, granted, we've seen some rookies lately, that come up and just rake, but I don't know how the Diamondbacks got that contract out of him. They must have been taking a page out of Alex Anthopoulos over in Atlanta, signing these guys, as soon as they're decent. In the first year in the majors, they give them 8-year deals, and already it looks like a bargain, like you said.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that outfield has kind of been built perfectly for like Chase Stadium, considering you got Corbin Carroll in right field in one of the corner spots. You got Alec Thomas, who's a speed threat in center field, and then I think is it Gurriel that's playing left field for Arizona. So I mean, and just the amount of alleys they have, it's like just again, a complete clap out and shout out to the Diamondbacks GM for building a really good roster that could be even better going into next year. Before we move on, just want to say hi to MJ and Alex, fellow TDT guys who are watching right now. Thank you guys for hopping on in. I think we can all agree that we're thankful we're not A's fans. Like, Cy and I are in pain that the Cubs and Cardinals aren't in the playoffs, but we can at least say that we paid a lot more money to our teams and actually had a better shot. So, but hey, at least you got Brent Rooker and Esteury Ruiz. Yeah,
you got Zach Geloff, Lawrence Butler. He's got a couple guys to look forward to, but you just gotta hope they don't get shipped off like they did with Matt Olson and Chapman and Simeon and all of them. So
Donaldson.
Yeah, everybody.
So yeah, very, very thankful. Very thankful. But let's go ahead and get into the last wild card series. Wow, I am completely blanking on what the last wild card series was in the NL.
Phillies Marlins.
Phillies Marlins. That's how forgettable it was, because the Marlins were the most fraudulent team going into these playoffs. They snuck in because the Cubs collapsed.
Yep.
And the Mets and Padres completely underachieved this year.
Yep.
And the Phillies just proved why that they are just they are a powerhouse in the NL. Yes, they didn't win the NL East, but I would still put them as the third best team in the NL, even in front of the Brewers this year. The hitting, the pitching, Trey Turner going back to Nationals/Dodgers, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper and Bryson Stott. We'll have to see if we can clip this out. That clip, I don't know if you guys saw it, of Stott's grand slam with no broadcast audio.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10, top 5, like baseball videos of all time. I'm not even, none of us are Philly fans. I'm not a Philly fan, and that gave me chills.
That's exactly, like seeing that and seeing the emotion coming from Stott and how the crowd reacted. Like, how can you not love baseball? Yeah, when you see something like that, it's just like, wow, this is a sport I fell in love with. Crazy.
Yeah, I love the Phillies. I actually predicted them to sweep the Braves because I just think they're just rolling right now.
Yeah,
they did it last year. They beat them 3-1 last year, and even going back to 1993, they beat the Braves in the NLCS to go to the World Series. So, they beat Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine back then. But I mean, I'm just saying the Phillies have their number. It seems.
Yeah, I think the Phillies just have so many guys with like playoff experience, and not to say that the Braves don't, but I think the bigger difference is some more veteran hitters and some veteran pitching. Because I think the biggest veterans on the Braves like pitching staff is like Max Fried and like Charlie Morton, whereas the Phillies have Zach Wheeler, Taijuan Walker, Aaron Nola, and even on the back end, they got Jose Alvarado, they got Craig Kimbrell. Like they got a lot of playoff experience under their belts right now, and it's always tough going up against a hot veteran team like the Phillies. So that'll be a fun rest of the series to watch.
Yeah, sure it will.
Before we get to the division series and what's been going on with that, who was your guys' MVP of the wild card round? Cy, I'll start with you on this one.
Evan Carter, man. Nobody performed how he did. So the kid's only 21 years old, and he's the second youngest player in postseason history to reach base safely 9+ times in a 3-game span. Like, he had an extra base hit, a walk, and a run scored each of the games. Like, kid's 21. He just got called up to majors a month ago, and he's doing this. Like, just no words. The kid is talented.
Evan Carter was really good in that series against the Rays. Johnny, who is your MVP of the wild card round?
I'm gonna have to go with someone we said before because of obviously you took Evan Carter from me, but I'm gonna go with Corbin Carroll. I mean, he was 4 for 7, double, a home run, and he was a big part of the reason that they just, not only beating the Brewers, but the Brewers were actually leading by 2 runs in both those games. And the Diamondbacks came back and won. And Corbin Carroll is a huge part of that. He makes that team go at this point. They feed off his energy. And, his first playoff experience ever, facing 2021 Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns. And this guy, gets it done in the first round. So same thing like as Evan Carter, first go around in the playoffs. And he's getting it done. These kids are just coming up and letting it go. They're not feeling the pressure. They're just playing because they love to play, and it's showing.
Yeah, I think
the kids play.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of just like, hey, I've never been here before, so I don't know what the difference between like the regular season and the postseason is. I'm just going to continue to play it like how I want to play.
So, yeah, exactly.
There's no one else to explain that because they're coming in with just like Diamondbacks weren't even supposed to be here in the first place. They're playing baseball to play baseball, and they know that they're hot right now. They know that they can make a run. And that's what you just love to see.
The thing that's interesting about the Diamondbacks, too, is they backed into the playoffs, too. They lost their last 4 games. They got swept by Houston. So, I mean, they could have very well, if the Cubs or the Reds won their last 5 in a row or whatever, you know what I mean? The Diamondbacks could have been out of it. But they're proving that they actually belong. So,
yeah, I mean, I think the Cubs were like a game behind. I think a game or 2 games behind the Diamondbacks. So flip 2 games either direction, and Cubs are in the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So, but enough about that. But I gotta give my MVP, and I'm surprised no one brought this guy up. It's a teammate of Evan Carter's, and that is one Mr. Corey Seager. This, again, if a man named Shohei Ohtani didn't exist, Corey Seager would be heavy considerations for AL MVP, and he continued that into the playoffs, and at least in the wild card round, and especially yesterday against the Orioles. I mean, he went 4 for 8 in the wild card round, 3 doubles, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, only struck out twice, and had scored 2 runs. Like we obviously talked about Corbin Carroll making the Diamondbacks go. I think Corey Seager, is having a very underappreciated season. Obviously, he missed a ton of games. I don't think he played 100 games this year, but he's just incredible. He's an incredible hitter. There's a reason he was the 2020 World Series MVP. Like, Corey Seager is that guy. And I think if the Rangers have any hope of making it to the World Series, because I'm pretty sure at this point they're an ALCS lock, knock on wood, depending on what happens, but I think Corey Seager is going to be the reason why the Rangers make the World Series if they do.
I hate to agree with you, but you're definitely right. He's just too talented, man. He's playing to that contract. There's no other words.
Yeah, he's just a left-handed. He's basically a guy who can hit 30 home runs and over 100 RBIs, but he can also play at least decent defense at shortstop, and that's, considering some of the other guys in the league, that is a very rare breed. So it's going to be interesting to watch how the rest of how these teams do. But let's go ahead and give a division series update. We'll go back and start with Johnny again in the Twins. Deadlocked 1-1 with the defending champions. We'll start with game 1. What went wrong for the Twins in game 1, and how were they able to rebound in game 2? And how do you think the rest of this series is going to shake out?
Well, game 1 started off bad. First pitch of the series, Altuve wound up hitting out. So that didn't bode well for Bailey Ober and the Twins. Having Bailey Ober pitch game 1, he pitched well the last day of the season. So, I mean, he deserved it over Joe Ryan, which it surprised me a little that they picked Ober over Ryan, but not so much because Ryan's been homer prone, especially the second half of the year since he came back from injury. But it is what it is. It's Houston. But what I liked about the Twins in the first game, even though that first home run, first pitch, and obviously, like we said before, Big Poppy the second, we just can't pitch to him. But the way they came back, I mean, they were losing 5-0 in the 5th inning, and they scored 4 runs. Polanco hit a blast, and Royce Lewis, who's been incredible. Let's talk about some of the young kids that don't have any experience. Someone like him, I'm glad he's healthy, because that first series might have gone a little different too. But I'm glad that they were able to come back. Verlander finally left the game, and they jumped all over Hector Neris. Granted, they didn't get it done in game 1. It was 6-4. But it just goes to show the pitching. Verlander shut them down for 6 innings. The comeback didn't make it. And what happened yesterday, Pablo Lopez did his thing and shut Houston down. And the Twins were able to get 6 runs, off Valdez. So it's going to be tough the rest of the way, like I said, but I did predict the Twins in 5. I'm hoping they make it 4 and don't make me sweat this out. But, win the next 2 at home. But I just don't know. I think they'll win game 3, Sonny Gray at home. I just don't know about game 4 because I think it's going to be a mix and match. The interesting thing about Houston, though, is I'm not crazy about their bullpen. And they didn't bring any lefties. Valdez is the only left-handed pitcher on the roster, which is a little shocking to me that they didn't bring any lefties with them, considering the Twins had someone like Edward Julian and Alex Kirilloff in the lineup that don't hit lefties at all, basically. So you're not even able to switch it up at the end of the game. So that I think that might come back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, no.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Houston's not rocking lefty in their pen. So wow. I don't even know what to say.
I was going to say they could have gotten Aroldis Chapman, but I mean, I don't know how good of an idea that would have been for the rest of the regular season for them. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how Houston's able to handle that. Yeah, I mean, who do you think is going to end up? Obviously, this is going to at least go 4 games. Who do you think is going to end up starting game 4 for the Twins?
I think it may be Ryan. I mean, they did Ober in game 1. And game 1 was Saturday? Game 4 would be Wednesday. So that doesn't line up. So I think game 4 is going to be Ryan. And then if it happens to go to a game 5, which will be Friday, and you got Pablo Lopez on good rest. So, and a game 5 at that point is all hands on deck. But game 4, I think they'll go with Ryan. Okay. And of course, they have Maeda in the bullpen who can back up. He came in game 1, and stuff like that. So, I mean, they have a few guys. Even Louis Varland, who they're carrying as a relief pitcher, he was a starter in the beginning of the year. He's a starter in the minors. He can go a couple innings if need be. Guys like that. So, I think game 4 they're going to mix and match. That's why I think game 3 at home is going to be really big for Sonny Gray to take that one. If we lose game 3, I can't see us winning 2 in a row and one of them in Houston. So I think game 3 is huge for the Twins.
Sonny Gray has to shove. If he doesn't shove, the series is going to be out of control.
Well, this is also, not to interrupt you, but Sonny Gray's a free agent. So to start, this could be $1 million, $2 million swing one way or the other. So
yes, it will be. Yes,
if you could beat Houston in the playoffs like this and shut them down, that'll go a long way to these American League teams looking at Sonny Gray in the offseason.
St. Louis will take him with open arms if he can do this. Bring him in.
Yeah, and I mean, game 3 is like the perfect time for, outside of just like Sonny Gray's top 2 pitcher with the Twins, the Astros are going to be throwing out Christian Javier, who just had his worst season of his career, 4.56 ERA, 127 WHIP. I mean, not a great year. And I will say his last start of the year against Arizona was good, but every other start before that, he gave up at least 3 runs in every start in the month of September, except for the one against the Orioles. But the Orioles have been struggling offensively, as we've seen in that division series with the Rangers. So that is, it is, I think, even though they would, I'm just going to get it all the way. Game 3 is must win for Minnesota.
Yeah. And like I said, Christian Javier is a righty. So the Twins can stack that lineup with lefties, and they don't have to worry about Dusty Baker bringing in a lefty late in the game. That's it.
You think we get a Joey Gallo sighting, or?
No, he's not on the roster.
Oh, okay.
He's not on the roster. No.
Okay.
But, I mean, guys like Kirilloff, Julian, guys left-handers like that. I'm not sure if they carry Trevor Warnock either. But left-handers like that is, that's it. They usually platoon. They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, probably one of the most entertaining games we're going to see in these division series. We'll go ahead and switch on over to the other American League division series. I think I'm just going to go ahead and right away give the floor to Cy because, you're not happy with the particular pitcher from the Baltimore Orioles as they find themselves down 0-2 as the 1 seed against, and I'm going to claim them now, my Texas Rangers.
All right. So I'm not surprised. This is not the first Bird team that's disappointed me this year, sadly. But, Grayson Rodriguez. Grayson Rodriguez. How are you going to come back up from AAA halfway through the season, pitch a sub-3 ERA, be arguably the ace of this weaker pitching staff outside of, I think it's Dean Kramer.
Kyle Bradish. He started game 1 for Baltimore.
I get them mixed up. They look like the same person. How are you going to come in to this postseason start? High energy. You have Adley behind the plate. You have a sellout crowd behind you, and get shelled for 7 runs in 2 innings. How is that going to happen? 5 of them coming in the second inning. When you know this pitching staff is weaker. Like, yes, the bats are there. You have an Adley Rutschman. You have a Gunnar Henderson. You have an Aaron Hicks who had his moment yesterday. You have the bats. They've been a little inconsistent so far, but you have the bats. The pitching is weaker, and they were relying on Grayson Rodriguez to get them at least 5-6, 2-run ball, 3-run ball. And you're going to get blown up for 7? No. Now they're down 2-0, and they have to go to Texas. And I want to say Orioles in 5. I'm going to say Orioles in 5, but I don't see it because they had to have taken 1 game in Baltimore. They didn't. That their pitching staff is already taxed because both their starters have been bounced before the 5th inning.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just taking a look at the box score here, and MJ, yes, you are so right about this. Considering, and we just saw a thing from Talking Baseball before we hopped on. Every American League East team is currently on a playoff losing streak. The Jays, Rays, and Orioles have lost 7 in a row. The Yankees have lost 4 in a row, and the Red Sox have lost 3 games in a row. So shout out to the American League East for beating your chest the most, but always disappointing when it matters most. So, but yeah, looking at the stat line from yesterday, I understand your anger with Grayson Rodriguez, deservedly so. Only got an inning in 2/3, gave up 5 runs, 4 walks, only 2 strikeouts. I actually think you should be mad at Brandon Hyde for bringing in Brian Baker, because you guys still scored 8 runs yesterday, but Baker gave up 3 more. And then shout out to Webb and Jack Flaherty. They each go multiple innings and only give up 1 run. Yeah, Jacob Webb and Jack Flaherty were pretty solid out of the pen for Baltimore. So if you don't take out Colombe and you leave him in to finish up the next inning, Orioles are probably, I don't know how things shake out, the Orioles are probably taking this one. I mean, take 3 runs off the board, it's at least tied. At that point, you give yourself a better shot. So I understand all your anger at Grayson Rodriguez, but again, as we've talked about, the Rangers are just a hitting machine. Marcus Semien with an RBI, Jonah Heim, Tavares had 2 RBIs, Adolis, one of my other favorite players from the Texas Rangers, Adolis Garcia. Good.
Former Cardinal.
I think he was second in the American League at like almost every hitting stat behind Shohei Ohtani. He was second in the American League in home runs behind Ohtani. He's just so good. I think he's very underrated. He had an RBI yesterday, and obviously Johnny's guy, Mitch Garver, with a 5 RBI day yesterday for the Rangers. So it's disappointing because I love young teams when they make the playoffs. I think this is just their growing pains. And honestly, I'm even more mad, besides the fact of Hyde's decision yesterday, I'm more mad at his decision to send Gunnar Henderson in the bottom of the 9th in game 1. You're down 1, and it was like the announcer's jinx.
Yep.
The announcer said, oh yeah, Jose Leclerc is hard to run on, and Jonah Heim's a good defensive catcher. So what do the Orioles do? They send Gunnar Henderson, who I thought was supposed to be fast, but looked super slow. I don't know if he got a bad jump, whatever. Looks super slow, out by a country mile. And then I think whoever was at bat strikes out, and the next guy grounds out to end the game. It didn't make any sense to me. You have a runner on base, let your hitter do some work and have an opportunity to drive him in. I understand wanting, you believe in your guy there, but you have to have the scouting report that it's hard to run on Jonah Heim and Jose Leclerc.
But you're still going to run. That's just negligence. Also, special shout out to Anthony Santander and Cedric Mullins for going combined 0 for 10 yesterday. You guys are supposed to be the big bats in the lineup. Anthony Santander's batting third, for goodness sake. You're going to go 0 for 5? Yeah, that's not going to play. It's not going to play.
Wow, I did not even see that. So it's rough. Johnny, just what do you think the Orioles are going to have to do to have any shot at turning this thing around?
They need the pitching. They need to somehow, because they do have the bats. Like you said, they did score 8 runs yesterday, and they beat up Jordan Montgomery, who pitched great against the Rays. So, I mean, they score 5 runs in 4 innings off Montgomery. He was gone by the 5th inning. So, I mean, they can hit anyone. And we talk about Baltimore, I thought, and they surprised me by winning 101 games this year, because I looked at their pitching, and when you look through April, Kramer and Bradish were crap in April. They were horrible. Mm-hmm. And then they're coming in the season with Grayson Rodriguez, a rookie. Kyle Gibson is your ace? Like, I'm just saying, like, what kind of pitching does this team have? But they managed to win the AL East. Hats off to them. And Bradish did get a lot better, and so did Kramer, like, toward the end of the year, second half. But even going into this playoff, like, I don't know. Are they pitching? Who are they pitching tomorrow? Is it Kramer?
As of now, it says it's undecided who will pitch for Baltimore.
I wonder if they go Kramer or Gibson.
Yeah.
I mean, Gibson's the best.
I would go Gibson.
I would too.
Because
I'd go Gibson and then Kramer, and then give Bradish the ball if it happens to go back to Baltimore in Game 5. That's what I would do. But again, and the thing with Grayson Rodriguez, look, first of all, you're running into a buzzsaw in the Texas Rangers. They've outscored their opponents in 4 games, 25-11. And that's including, and we're talking those opponents are the 99-win Tampa Bay Rays and the 101-win Baltimore Orioles. So they're a buzzsaw right now, And also, we gave shout out to Royce Lewis, Corbin Carroll, Evan Butler, these guys, Evan Carter, sorry. These guys who were rookies who were getting it done in the playoffs. Well, these guys are special because they're getting it done. Someone like Grayson Rodriguez, this is his first go-around, and he got shelled by a hot team. I mean, what are you going to do? The Texas Rangers scored the most runs in the American League this year, and third most in the major leagues behind the Dodgers and the Braves. So you're asking a rookie to try to get these guys out, which, after they just won 3 in a row against the Rays and your Orioles. So I give Grayson Rodriguez a little bit of a pass yesterday. I mean, yeah, he pitched like shit, but I mean, honestly, it's growing pains. You know what I mean? And like you said, it is growing pains, and I just that's why I took Texas in 4, because I just think Baltimore. The fact that they won 100 games and are the number 1 seed in the American League, they're ahead of schedule.
They are ahead of schedule.
So I took my captain to win 100 games in the American League and to take the American League East is impressive. But
they feel very much in the vein of like the 2021 White Sox, where no one expected them necessarily. Like, they had some expectations, no one expected them to win their division, and they were a young team who was getting some growing pains going up against a really good team from Texas. That's a weird parallel I just thought of right now. But yeah, no, I think hopefully for Baltimore, I think they're in a much better situation than the White Sox were when they won the division. But it's going to be a dogfight next year for Baltimore. Tampa Bay is still going to be there. Aaron Judge will be back for the Yankees. Who know what the Red Sox do? And then Who knows what's going on with Toronto? Is Matt Chapman going to stay? So it's American League East is still going to be a dogfight next year, but I think another year under their belts, I think signing a big name starting pitcher, whether that be a Sonny Gray, an Aaron Nola, or Yamamoto from Japan, if they're able to lure him away from probably the Dodgers or the Mets or Yankees or whatever, or the Giants. So I think they're close. They have to go through this and give shout out to Baltimore fans who have had like one of the like worst weeks I can imagine. They lose on Thursday Night Football to the Bears by 20. Then Maryland gets destroyed by Ohio State. And then the Orioles losing 2 in a row to the Rangers. And then the Ravens wide receivers yesterday dropping 7 passes as the Ravens lose to the Steelers. So shout out to Baltimore and Maryland area fans. We feel for you. This will pass, but we just want to let you know we're thinking of you. So we'll go ahead and move on to the National League, the senior circuit. Let's start with the kids again, and what's it called? Oh yeah, playoff Kershaw rearing his ugly head again, once again for the Dodgers, as he only records 1 out. I believe gave up 8 runs.
Yes,
6 runs, something like that.
I think it was 8. But let me.
Let's
double check. Let's double check.
Yeah, I was gonna say as the Diamondbacks take Game 1 in LA, 11-2. I know Kershaw has not been good in the playoffs. I know he's getting older by pitching standards, but what happened? Like, even to be only score 2 runs. I mean, you have Mookie Betts, you have Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy, James Outman. I mean, you got Kike Hernandez playing like Dodgers Kike Hernandez again. Like, I don't know what happened. I was not expecting an 11-2 shellacking by the Diamondbacks.
I don't think anybody was, but I just double checked the stat line. Kershaw only recorded 1 out and gave up 6 runs.
Yeesh.
That's just, for someone who's supposed to be your ace, this is a team that the Dodgers are notoriously good against in the Diamondbacks. Seeing this, like, that's crazy that Tommy Pham right now owns Dodgers. I think that's kind of crazy because never expected that, but it happened. Like, wow, just wow.
The Diamondbacks are that team in the National League. We talk about the Rangers in the American League. The Diamondbacks remind me a lot of that. And the Diamondbacks, let me tell you something. The fact that they beat the Brewers in 2 games instead of 3 is huge for them because they had Merrill Kelly start Game 1. And the way the National League schedule works out, they could have Kelly, Galen, Fat, Kelly, Galen. So they could have Kelly and Galen on regular rest 4 out of the 5 games, which is huge for them because they had a day off yesterday. They have a day off tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Wednesday, Thursday, and then Game 5 is Saturday. So the Diamondbacks are perfectly positioned, and considering that the Dodgers don't have Dustin May, they don't have Julio Urias, they don't have, Walker Buehler has been gone. There was talk in the beginning of the year maybe Walker Buehler could come back for the playoffs, but that was shot down. But I mean, they're missing their top starters. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the game the other day. The ghost of Shelby Miller pitched 2 shutout innings. Like, where'd this guy come from? You know what I mean? The guy was like on the scrap heap, and all of a sudden he's like an ace out of the bullpen. But again, like the Diamondbacks, I think, are just ambushing pitchers. Like, they're just jumping on pitchers. They're not waiting. They're not working counts. They're saying, all right, you're going to throw a strike first pitch, I'm going to hit it. And that's what they did to Kershaw. Kershaw was throwing decent pitches. He was throwing sliders in the dirt. He was throwing curveball, his usual curveball, but one of the best curveballs ever. You know, they were just jumping all over it. So I don't know what was going on there, but the Diamondbacks are hot right now, man. And I picked the Diamondbacks in 5, so I think they can do this. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Cy.
I couldn't agree more. That's like, I think because of that Dodgers pitching staff, that's one more easier picks to make. Just let the kids play, and they'll show everybody how it's done. They're giving me that 2019 Washington Nationals energy. That's what I'm getting from them right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect comparison. Yeah, and I mean, obviously for game 2, it is going to be Gallen against Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller actually had a pretty good year for the Dodgers, went 11-4, 3.76 ERA. He's only 24 years old, so it'll be interesting to see how he deals with probably one of his first postseason experiences. But I had to give him respect because he's a Northwest Illinois suburb guy. He's from Elk Grove Village, so shout out to him for that. But yeah, I think this one's going to be much closer, which is wild for me saying that a game that not pitched by Clayton Kershaw will be closer for the Dodgers is not something I expected to say this year. But I think it'll be better. I still think the Diamondbacks are going to win game 2. And then the fact that you only have to win one more and you got 2 games in your own ballpark and you've already taken 2 in LA, I think the Diamondbacks are going to make the NLCS after, as we talked about earlier, just sneaking into the wild card behind the Phillies. So, and behind the Marlins. The Marlins were the 5 seed because they had the tiebreaker. So, honestly, I think it's also a favor losing to the Marlins, losing the tiebreaker to the Marlins because they got the easier matchup in the wild card. So, yeah, it's gonna be. I'm excited for the Diamondbacks. Personally, I hope it's Diamondbacks Phillies in the NLCS. I think that'll be a very entertaining series if that happens. But I'm really all over. I'm loving what the Diamondbacks are doing right now. Just got to win 2 more, and you're still going up against a veteran team like all the guys we talked about earlier. So it's not going to be easy, but if they can do what they did against Milwaukee and win 1 more in LA, I think this series is pretty much wraps.
So. Not wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Not wrong.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and head on to the most heated division series, I would say, and that is some division rivals going at it. We got the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. The Braves lose game 1, 3-0, the first time they've been shut out at home all year long. And what do they get as their reward? A not nearly sold out crowd at it's Truist, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, Truist Bank.
Truist Bank Park or Field, whatever it's called. Not a sold out crowd. The fans are throwing garbage on the field. I think it was like 2-0 like early or 1-0 early in the game, and fans were already throwing garbage onto the field. We give Philadelphia fans a lot of crap for some of the stuff that they do. I think Atlanta is slowly rising in the worst fan bases power rankings, at least the Braves fans are right now. So just reactions to what happened, at least on the fan side of things from game 1, and what are you expecting in game 2, at least on the field?
So I'll start this off. Braves fans, that was embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. Yes, your team got shut out by Ranger Suarez in basically, I'm looking at the stat line right now, it was a bullpen game from the Phillies, and they got shut out. And you're going to throw garbage on the field, on your own field? Why? Just why? What's going through your head? You guys prepared. You had the extended off time which they're now complaining with. They're complaining again of the reason why they got shut out. They were doing inter-squad matchups during the wild card series. They were going at it. They were still competing. They were still, like, being game ready. And you got shut out? And you're going to use this excuse of, oh, we had to buy, oh, we had to buy, oh, we got cold. No. You got outperformed. You got outmatched. Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado, Jeff Hoffman, like, shoved. Like, what? Just be better, Atlanta. You're going to win all these games. You're going to have Ronald Acuna, who had a 40-70 year, which nobody's ever done. You're going to have all these guys. You have Matt Olson, who could be an MVP if it wasn't for Ronald. Like, be better, Atlanta. Otherwise, the same thing's going to happen that happened last year. You're going to lose the NLDS, and your fans are going to be real disappointed. And then Blooper is going to be sad on Twitter. Do we want to see Blooper sad on Twitter? No, we don't.
Johnny, your thoughts?
I like the Phillies. I mean, I like them as a team. I think they're, we toss his word around sometimes too, but they're great. They're just a good veteran team between Harper, Realmuto, Schwarber. Now having Trey Turner this year, even guys like Alec Bohm and Castellanos, and I mean, their lineup is deep. Granted, they don't, they're not. It's not Acuna, Olsen, and Albies, but you got to remember the Phillies are a pretty damn good lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Strider, he can give up runs. His ERA was almost 4 this year. Granted, he had all the strikeouts and everything, and he had a little bad luck. If you look at his underlying peripherals and stuff, I think he led the league in 5th. But I'm just saying, he can be gotten. I was just surprised that Rangers Suarez and 6 relievers were able to shut down the Braves. That really surprised me. I don't think it was Strider's fault. He had 2 runs in 7 innings. What do you want the guy to do? That's pretty damn good outing in the playoffs at home in game 1. Mm-hmm. How come your offense didn't score? Where was Mr. 40-70? Where was the league leader in home runs and RBIs and Matt Olson? Like, where were these guys? And that's against Ranger Suarez. And now the Phillies have Wheeler and Nola?
Yeah.
It's not going to get any easier. I mean, game 2 is in Atlanta. If Atlanta loses game 2, they're done. They're done.
They're not.
They're not taking 2 in a row in Philly. That Philly fan base is rabid. There's no way. So they have to. Atlanta has to win tonight. Take 1 in Philly and try to push this to a game 5. Oh, they're just finished. That's it.
Yeah, and go for it.
I'll mention Winter Suarez for only letting up 1 hit with 4 Ks and 3 2/3. Like, Ranger did exactly what he needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That Phillies team did exactly what they needed to do. So just shout out Phillies again, man. Shout out Phillies. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I just honestly hope for the simple fact, and this is going to just sound so petty, but for the fact that they played a montage during a tied game in the bottom of the 10th with the Cubs and the Braves. That alone gives me enough reason to root against the Braves. But from some of the stuff Acuna has been doing all year with like staring down pitchers who pitch him inside just because, and just some of the antics and the hatred they have for Dansby Swanson for whatever reason, even though he helped win them a World Series. It just never made sense to me. But yeah, I think the Phillies, again, the reason I put them as the third, honestly, with how the Dodgers are playing, the Phillies might be the second best team in the National League. So they have hitting, they have pitching, they have clutch performers all up and down the lineup and throughout that pitching staff. So I'm really excited for the rest of these playoffs. But in case the Braves fans decide to throw any more trash onto the field, the players and coaches might want to get some good insurance.
Erie Insurance says here's to the grown-ups who move, mortgage, mow, and still bust a move. But does your home insurance still fit? Erie helps you protect the home you've grown into, all at fair prices that are often less than the other guys. So how do you find the right coverage? Magic. Nope, local independent agents who get to know you like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And when you go and contact Jeff Wertepe at Building Block Insurance, make sure to let him know that Third Down Thursdays sent you, and let him know that Cy is better at him at Call of Duty.
Of
Guys.
course.
Guys, obviously one of the biggest parts, we're deep in the thick of the playoffs right now, but some teams are already focusing on their off season, and there has been a ton of rumors swirling. I'm going to go ahead and get it off because I think the biggest rumor of them all is Pete Alonso to the Chicago Cubs. Last week, Bruce Levine of 670 The Score said that the Cubs would be willing to do everything they can to get Pete Alonso in a Cubs jersey or make some sort of big trade. Obviously, Alonso's the biggest guy because he's got 1 year left as an arbitration before he would want to become a free agent. The Mets are reportedly, according to The Athletic a few months ago, looking to compete in 2025, not 2024. And then Jesse Rogers a day later says that Pete Alonso would be interested in coming to the Cubs. Obviously, he has no control over where he gets traded, but if he were traded to the Cubs, it would be seemingly a little bit more likely that he would be willing to sign a 10-year extension with the Cubs. So I want to get your thoughts, but I want to say my piece first. This is the type of move that proves not only to the fan base, but to your team and coaches that you are ready to start competing. The NL Central is very winnable, even if the Cardinals go out and get Aaron Nola and Sonny Gray, because we don't know what's happening with Willie Adames, Corbin Burns, and Brandon Woodruff in Milwaukee. The Reds still need pitching. The Pirates look good, but they're still probably another year away from actually being in a big contender spot. So I honestly would be willing to give up at least one of the outfielding prospects. I think I was thinking Kevin Alcantara is probably one of the big ones I would give up, and then maybe one of the other pitchers. Not Cade Horton. I think Cade Horton's too good to give up, but the Cubs just have such a deep farm system. Matt Mervis. Matt Mervis would be the other guy. Because if you're getting Pete Alonso, Alonso's only 28 years old. You're going to sign him for 10 years. He'll be good for probably 7 of those 10 years. Like, Pete Alonso just fits with the Cubs, especially if they're able to re-sign Cody Bellinger. You can split time with them at first base and have Bellinger in the outfield, or put Alonso as your DH. Guy has hit at least 36 home runs in every full season. And even the 2020 season, he hit, I think it was 16 home runs in 57 games, which would have been 45 in a full season. So I love this idea. I think obviously he's still going to strike out a lot, low batting average, but you can't teach and you can't get much else out of 36 home runs and over 110 RBIs a year. Like, that's one of the biggest things the Cubs did. Yes, they had like 4 or 5 guys hit over 20 home runs, but Bellinger and Morel were at 26, and then yet Dansby Swanson and Patrick Wisdom. Like, you need guys who can also just drive in runs. And with the dimensions of Wrigley Field, especially in left center field and right center field, I think Pete Alonso would love playing in Chicago.
You're not far off. I think the Cubs have the depth to get this move done. And honestly, as your rival fan, I'm okay with this because Pete Alonso does not like St. Louis that much. He has fought with our first base coach and gotten smoked by him before. He threw Mason Wynn's first career hit into the stands. I like the drama that Pete Alonso would bring because, to me personally, Cubs and Cardinals are already much less baseball, but with someone like a Pete Alonso there who has his drama with St. Louis, I think our fan base will eat this up, and shit talk him a lot, basically. I know I would. I don't like Pete Alonso that much. For what fun he's done, I just want to see him fight with our team again. That's all I care about, because he'll lose. So go for it. Go Cubs. I hope they overpay, honestly, because yes, he's got the home run power. Yes, the Cubs need a first baseman, but he does strike out a lot. And hopefully he brings the good energy and not the bad energy. That's all I gotta say. Go for it, Chicago. I don't care. Go for it.
All I'm hearing is a lot of coping from Cy right now. Johnny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, all right. So I'll be the voice of wisdom between this Cubs-Cardinals battle here, all right? The neutral party. It's funny because I'm from New Jersey originally. I know a lot of my friends are Mets fans. So I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I was telling, and he was saying, the Mets just got to get this done. I know Pete Alonso just signed Boras Corp. So Scott Boras is going to be representing him, which doesn't bode well for the pocketbooks of GMs. But I was telling him, and he was saying the same thing. I'm like, where are you finding another first baseman like Pete Alonso? There are basically 3 in the major leagues, and that's Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, and Paul Goldschmidt. Other than those 3, who are better than Pete Alonso at first base?
It's a short list.
Yeah, I mean, they give you 35, 40 home runs and 110, 120 ribbies every year. You're not going to find him. And he's in his 20s still. I was saying that, Uncle Stevie over in New York should just be like 10 years, $300 million right here. Here you go. You and Lindor, face of the franchise. We got Nimmo for another 5 years. We'll build around that. But if they are going to trade Alonso, if they're not going to sign him to an extension before next year starts, they need to trade him for as much as possible. And the Cubs do have a couple interesting pieces. I was looking at the minor leagues. I always like Kelvin Alcantara. I think he's a good hitter, especially for his height. He's a big dude at 6'6". But he doesn't have a ton of holes in his swing from what I've seen. Owen Casey's another one as an outfielder. And I'll add a third one in here. I wouldn't be ironic if they got Pete Crow Armstrong back.
Okay, we're just getting silly now.
See, I wanted to say that
I know
too,
that's what happened. I'm just saying it would be a little ironic. But the Mets need pitching. And I think outfield is fine. If I were the Mets, I would go more Ben Brown, Jackson Ferris, and lower my expectations on another outfielder and possibly a low A, like middle infielder. That's what I would do for them, because the Mets don't need a catcher. They have Alvarez.
Yep.
They don't need a third baseman or a shortstop. They have Beatty and Vientos. So, I mean, they can move, all right, first baseman, maybe throw in Matt Mervis, maybe throw in whatever. It's outfield and pitching where they need the help. So that's going to, that would be the need for the Mets from the Cubs if they're going to trade them there.
Yeah, I think honestly, and I'm trying to remove as much of my bias as possible. I think a Ben Brown and Matt Mervis trade, I think that gets it done. And I think if you want the Cubs to throw in an outfield prospect, you would basically have to guarantee that Alonso signs an extension the minute the trade goes through. Because yes, the Cubs have Picor Armstrong, Owen, Alexander Canario, Ian Happ, and Seiya Suzuki. They have a loaded outfield, but some of these guys are looking really good. I think Alcantara had that big home run in the Arizona Fall League a couple of weeks ago. He's looking really good. Owen Casey's an interesting prospect, but that's a lot to give up from your minor league system. I think that's nearly 3 guys out of the top 15 in your system. That's a lot to give up. And I love Pete Alonso, and I probably would do it, but I would need a guarantee of a long-term extension with Scott Boras once the trade goes through.
It makes sense. I understand that. And like I said, because Pete Alonso is right now the 4th best first baseman in the major leagues. And he's also younger than Freeman and younger than Goldschmidt by a few years. So you're getting a first baseman. You haven't had, you're getting a first baseman who is just as good, if not better, than prime Rizzo. So,
Is
take.
well, think about it. I mean, yeah, Rizzo had the on-base percentage, and he got hit by pitch. I mean, he got on base. He was a little different of a hitter. But as far as pure, like, OPS output and, run scoring ability, run drive, Pete Alonso's an elite power hitter.
oh yeah,
So,
that was.
I mean,
Yeah,
so if you would say, all right, I could trade these guys, would you trade those guys for a 24-year-old Anthony Rizzo and sign him to a 10-year deal?
24-year-old Anthony Rizzo?
So this is what I'm saying. And sign him to a 10-year deal? I mean,
man, that's wow. Yeah, I mean, I thought isn't it Alonso 28?
Well, he's 28 now, but I'm saying if I'm just saying take young Rizzo. That's what I'm saying. Take Rizzo in his prime, basically, is
Yeah, so giving up PCA, Ben Brown, and Mervis. I mean, yeah, especially considering Rizzo gives you Gold Glove defense at first base. That was my only trepidation with comparing Rizzo and Alonso.
Right, yeah,
because of the defense. And not Alonso's not like terrible. He's not like David Ortiz versus a National League team bad at first base.
Right.
But that was my only trepidation. Yeah, I would still. Yeah, either guy. I think I would. Again, if you're getting an extension. And just how dominant of a hitter Alonso is, I'm saying goodbye to PCA is tough because, but again, I guess at that point you make Cody Bellinger your full-time center fielder, and you're not really losing that much defensively. So
I mean, like you said, you have a lot of depth in the outfield. You still have Owen Casey. You still have Brennan Davis in the minor leagues too. I mean, you have a lot of depth in it. Oh, and it doesn't have to be PCA. What if you gave up Alcantara, Mervis, and Ben Brown?
For a guaranteed extension, yes. I would do that.
Well,
that's not up to the Mets now. That's up to Boris to so that would be something separate.
Yeah, but the Cubs have not had the greatest experiences with Mr. Scott Boras, obviously dealing with Bryce Harper potentially coming to the Cubs, Chris Bryant stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then, so it's not helping that now Cody Bellinger is a client of Scott Boras along now with Pete Alonso. So Scott Boras just makes the Cubs' life a living hell. And I wish he would just go away at this point. So just make our lives easier.
Well, it's only because he's damn good at his job.
Yeah, really, he is.
He works for the players, not the owners.
I know, and I'm full pro player. I think he's just annoying to me, just as with our history. So, but let's keep the rumor mill churning. Back in mid-September, we'll go on to Sai's team now that the Cardinals are looking to invest a lot into starting pitching because they are a poverty pitching franchise as of now. So their rumors is that they're targeting Mr. Aaron Nola to be a pitcher for them, to be their new ace because Jack Flaherty was a bust and Adam Wainwright is old and Miles Michaelis sucks and everyone sucks. So
everyone sucks.
That's how you really feel.
Everyone sucks, not named Steven Matz. Steven Matz is fine. We like Steven Matz around here. But no, as Jackson was saying,
Good
one.
Oh, that was perfect.
Anyways, so back in mid-September, our beat writer Derek Gould came out with an article saying that the Cardinals are going to heavily pursue starting pitching this offseason. That was obvious. John Mosaic dug himself in the hole in the beginning of the year, saying that 6 starting pitchers, whatever. But Aaron Nola's name mentioned. That's like this is our prime target. This is the ace caliber pitcher that we want. We would sign him ideally. What I've been hearing is like a 5-year, $105 million deal. Something in that ballpark is what we would sign him to. And then once the offseason hit for us, since the Cardinals sucked this year, the front office came out and confirmed basically that Aaron Nola and Sonny Gray are our top to free agent targets that we're going after. So, as a biased Cardinals fan as I am, I would love Aaron Nola as an ace. Because one, it takes him away from the NL East. It takes him away from the Phillies, and I don't like the Phillies that much, but that's okay. But that is an ace. That is an ace cover pitcher that we need. That it fully allows Nola to be in the ace because he's playing 1A, 1B with Zach Wheeler in Philly. So this allows the rotation to be his. He's the ace. He's our go-to guy, and I want to see it because we need 3 starting pitchers, and that knocks out one of them right there. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Are you concerned with like his inconsistency and the fact that I believe he just turned 30, or he'll probably end up being like 31 years old by the time next season starts?
No. I'm used to inconsistency. He's a little inconsistent. He'll just fit right in. But he is an ace quality pitcher. He's an ace quality pitcher. And St. Louis isn't prone to having one of them. So it would make the fans happy if we actually had a good pitching rotation because that's why we weren't good this year. A little bit of inconsistency does not mind. I don't mind a little bit of inconsistency because he's a pitcher. He's human. It's bound to happen.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think that would just take off like a lot of pressure from some of the other guys in the Cardinals rotation. Obviously, Liberatore, maybe he bounces back next year. Michaelis as like a number 2 or number 3. If you just get Aaron Nola,
Michaelis is. Michaelis
a 5.
That is our 5. The only confirmations in our rotation for next year that I can say confidently is Milkis. I still can't say his name properly. That is our 5, and Steven Matz is our 4. We need a top 3 because we don't have a top 3. If Michaelis or Matz is any higher than a 4 and 5, we do not succeed in the offseason. We need 3 starting pitchers. 2 of them are going to come from free agency. 1 is going to come from a trade. I can't say who because I'm not the front office, but I want Aaron Nola, and I want Sonny Gray, and I want Logan Gilbert. If we're talking about what I want, will it happen? I don't know because I've learned that this front office cannot be trusted because they will come out and say stuff and they won't do it.
Logan Gilbert? That's an interesting name to throw out there. I don't think Seattle's moving him at all.
We've been tied to conversations. Seattle and us have had conversations since the trade deadline about
I'd say Logan Gilbert, and Seattle's really not going to move him, but Jerry DiPoto will trade his friggin' grandmother for somebody. Like, I mean, he doesn't even care. This dude loves trading like a fantasy GM. It's incredible with him. So I don't know. I won't count anything out with that guy. But
DiPoto and the Mariners have a lot of starting pitching depth that are younger that the Cardinals would be interested in. And we have middle infield depth that could intrigue them. We have outfielders that could intrigue them. So I'm not gonna. I can see a move happening for like let's say the Cardinals trade, as much as it would hurt me, trade a Tommy Edman and a couple other pieces for like a Brian Wu or something like that. That's something I could see happening.
Yeah, I could even see maybe like Tyler O'Neill and a prospect or 2 for Logan Gilbert and like a lower level prospect going back to the Cardinals. I think, especially with the Mariners potentially, or no, Teoscar went to the Blue Jays. Never mind. But no, he's with the Mariners. Oh yeah, I got them.
He went from the Blue Jays to the Mariners. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a free agent. Who knows if he'll come back to Seattle? I think Tyler O'Neill would be a pretty good replacement, or Dylan Carlson potentially that you may have to give up.
Either or, one of them need to be gone.
You probably would need to give up like another prospect on top of that, if you're trading Carlson. But I think Tyler O'Neill, like for Logan Gilbert and a couple of prospects, either way, I think would get that done. yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if the Cardinals can accomplish their goals. It was tough. I mean, I was not I've had a little bit of hope in Jack Flaherty maybe bouncing back, but man, I just did not realize how bad the Cardinals pitching was. I'll be perfectly honest, I really wasn't following the Cubs and or the NL Central that much in the early part of the year because the Cubs sucked in the early part of the year. So, but just to see just like how bad it was, and even like the bullpen, like trading Jordan Hicks away, and there's a lot of overhauling that needs to be done to that pitching staff, and I think it's probably will end up taking more than one off season to fix.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm in it for the long run.
So since we've been talking a lot about this guy, what his current team is, what his future team could be, Johnny, do you think there's any possibility that Sonny Gray stays in Minnesota for long term, or do you think he's out the door regardless of what happens this season?
Honestly, I could see him staying. It's hard to say because the Twins are weird about spending money, very mid-market, you know. And Sonny Gray, this is like his last big contract. He'll be 34 years old in November, so I don't think he's getting another multi-year deal. I would like to see the Twins keep him, but I just don't know. It's really hard to tell what these guys are. Now that we've got the monkey off our back from the postseason, you know, and Gray pitched well in a wild card series. If he pitches well tomorrow, they have to keep these guys together. I mean, we already signed Lopez to the extension, so he's all set for the next 5 years, I think, 5-6 years, something like that. I mean, Gray is obviously older, but I'd have no problem bringing Gray back for 3 years. 3 years, 60.
Yeah, even
I mean,
3 years, 60 with like a mutual option in the fourth. I think that might
something
be...
like that. Yeah. Or even give him a longer term with an opt out or something like that to entice him. You know, give him maybe a 4-year at 80. You know, and front load the contract a little bit and then give him the opt out. You know, that's what I don't think enough teams do. They don't load contracts to the front end before these opt-outs, you know? And I think it's a mistake. Because then if you opt out, let's just put it this way. If you're paying four at 80, so that's $20 million a year. But if you're paying 25 the first 2 years, that's 50. Now you only have to pay 15 year 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. So let him opt out after year 2. If he's good and he thinks he can get more than 15 million for the next 2 years on the market, okay, go ahead. If not, then you're only into him for 15 million for the next 2 years. So I think it's a win-win in that sense. I don't understand why more teams don't do it, but I think the Twins should do something like that with Gray, considering his age too. Like I said, he's going to be 34 in November. So,
yeah, and I mean, obviously, I think Minnesota is a great place to live. I'm not sure what his family situation is, and outside of baseball factors, for him. But I think Sonny Gray would be a great spot to stay for him. I think him and Lopez, the AL Central is weak. Everyone knows that. The Guardians, we'll see what the Guardians can do, considering they're also another low budget team. We'll see if the White Sox. Wait, never mind. I was gonna say if we see the White Sox spend money, but then I remember Jerry Reinsdorf is the owner, so that's not gonna happen.
Do they have a GM yet?
I think they hired someone from the Royals. I think it was like Chris Getz or something.
Oh, did they? Okay, I wasn't sure because I know they got rid of Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if they replaced them.
Yeah, Chris Getz was named as the senior vice president and general manager for the White Sox, and he was part of the Royals organization, which is so on brand because outside of 2 years where they were contending, they were one of the worst teams in baseball. So, and then
gotta feel for Bobby Witt, man. Gotta feel for Bobby Witt.
Yeah. So it all just comes down to what the Tigers are able to do because Javier Baez is going to come back because he was awful. And then You're going to lose Eduardo Rodriguez. So, and it's just all going to come down to that. And then who knows what Kansas City does. They're going to be bad again next year, but maybe not as bad. So I think competitively, baseball-wise, I think Twins have a really good defense, obviously with Correa back there holding things down. So I think for him, I think Minnesota would be a great place to play for potentially the remainder of his career. All right. So moving on from that, we've had a lot of good conversation and some rumors and some positive things going forward, but we also have to address a big negative that's going on in the Big Apple. The former Mets general manager, Billy Epler, is under investigation for misusing the injured list. It was reported by The Athletic and Ken Rosenthal. Why? Like, of all things he could have messed with, what competitive advantage did it give him to mess with who he puts on the IL and for how long? Like, so you and I were talking, all of us were talking like about he put one player on like the 68-day IL and then he put him on the 10-day or 15-day. Like, what was Billy Epler thinking?
It was Tim Locastro. He got taken off the 60-day DL. This was like, I want to say like June or so. Did his rehab assignment, then got put right back on the 15-day IL instead of the 60-day. Like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like, why are you... Billy, man. Come on, man.
That's excuse me, that's future Hall of Famer Tim Locastro. You know, let's put some respect on the man's name.
Oh, love Tim Locastro. Love what he does. But like, why Tim, bro? Tim didn't do anything to you.
This is claim to fame. It's going to be this whole Epler investigation.
It's his move in particular that I see all these like media outlets talking about. It's that move in particular. Like, man, Tim didn't do nothing to you. He's just trying to play the game that he loves.
Man, so for those who don't know, let's say just clarify. He is under investigation for his use of the so-called phantom injured list. It's basically a practice of putting players on the injured list with fake injuries. Some players ask players who are struggling and on the fringe of the roster to accept an IL placement so that way they can call somebody else up without using a minor league option to send a guy down, especially if they're low, like they've one minor league option left and they want him back up. So just what are your guys' thoughts about just first like Billy Epler and him using this and that fact he's under investigation for it, but also just the practice in general? Like, should the MLB amend rules where it's going to have stricter policies like the NBA just did with load management? Or do you think they need to just expand the active rosters? They've already done it once from 25 to 26. Do you think they just need to make rosters a permanent 28 instead of having the 28 just for the month of September?
That's a hard-hitting question, but I'm going to side with let's make the 28-man roster permanent because of load management. Because if the roster is just bigger, then this whole phantom injury list thing wouldn't have to happen. So, but Billy's just a clown. I never expected him to do this out of anyone. But you know, he has a fraud team anyways. His team sucked this year, so it's really just lol Mets. Really all I can say.
Oh,
Johnny?
I don't know if we have to expand our rosters again. I mean, you know, I think the Players Association should be supremely pissed about this stuff. Is because you're telling me that he's putting guys on the IL and not using minor league options, which means our players are losing out. Because, you know, once a player gets sent down a certain amount of times, they have no more options. They have to be on a major league roster. They have to have a major league contract. With this whole options thing and making deal. I mean, and not only that, if you're talking to a player that only has one option left and he's been in the league up and down, say for 3-4 years, all right, what's Epler giving this kid? Is there something on the side here? This kid's making like barely, minor league money, or even if he's got a rookie contract, making, $700,000 or whatever the rookie, I think it's 720 or something like that. But I mean, whatever it may be. How are you going to tell this kid, look, just do me a favor and go down. We're going to throw you on the IL so we can bring someone else up because you're not hitting and they are. Like, I mean, how does this conversation go is what I'm saying with Epler and the player. Or it obviously doesn't go through the agent because the agent would be bullshit with this kind of practice. So how does it, I'd like to know, like, how this, it seems like, even though it seems innocuous, especially since the Mets sucked this year. So Tim LaCastro wasn't moving the needle, but I'm saying, like, it sounds like some shady shit that other teams are probably doing too. And Epler is the one that got kind of like the Astros and the whole Yankees, Red Sox with the watches and shit. You see the shady shit going on. You're like, well, they can't be the only teams doing it. So I wonder if this is more. And of course, the side piece of this is the whole thing that I've been reading about is that it was an anonymous tip. Tell me Buck Showalter didn't, after he got fired or resigned. You telling me he didn't call up the league office? And he's probably called up the league office and said, yeah, Billy Epler made me keep that motherfucking fat guy, Dan Vogelbach, on the roster this whole year. But yet he's moving other guys around. What the hell is this? And I get fired for it. God damn it.
Don't be dissing Danny Burgers. He didn't do anything to deserve that. He's in his own world doing his own thing, man. Don't diss.
Him and Tim LaCastro are playing off-season softball right now and hanging out having beers. They didn't do anything to deserve this. Buck got fired. Epler's under investigation, and poor Danny and Tim are just hanging out. Mets suck.
Oh man!
You know what? You know what I think Billy Epler needed in his life?
What's that?
I think he needed some good old W energy to get his mind right. For y'all who don't know about W energy was formulated to give you focus and energy with no jitters and crash. It contains no calories, no sugars, no fillers, no artificial colors. Best energy drink on the market. And I think if Billy Epler had some, none of this would have happened. So, if you want to be like Billy and go and be a fraud and make these fraudulent moves, go ahead and do that. But if you don't want to be like him, go get yourself some W. Use our code Third Down Thursdays for 10% off. And yeah, don't be like Billy.
No one wants to be like Billy Epler. One more thing before we get out of here. We just had that bad taste in our mouth. We had the disrespect Billy Epler gave Daniel Vogelbach and Buck Showalter. That was just wrong. And Tim LaCastro. Let's end this show on a positive note. It has been an incredible season, even if your team did make the playoffs like mine and Size, or if your teams did like Johnny. It has been a great season of baseball. A lot of historic moments, just a lot of really good baseball, even from some of the worst teams in the league. I think the Athletics and the Royals down the stretch were able to beat up on the Astros. So there was some good baseball going on. So I wanted to ask you guys, what was your favorite moment of the season? It doesn't have to be from your team specifically. It can just be, it can be anything. It can be from today, October 9th, from the end of March. What's your favorite moment of the year? Johnny, I'll start with you.
Well, for this, I am actually going to be a homer. And I'm going to say Saturday, August 5th, against the Diamondbacks, when they retired Joe Mauer's number and put him in the Twins Hall of Fame. Joe Mauer was an excellent player, and a lot of guys who were younger obviously don't remember how good he was in his prime as a catcher, winning 3 batting titles in 4 years as a catcher, which is insane. Also, he played more catcher than he played first base and DH combined. So he was mostly a catcher for his career.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be on the Hall of Fame ballot, I believe, next year. And he should definitely get some consideration. He didn't win a ring, but like I said, he won 3 batting titles, an MVP, and finished with a 306 lifetime batting average. Played for one team his whole career. And he's from St. Paul, Minneapolis. Hometown boy, stayed there, played his whole career with them. Unfortunately, he wasn't able, was part of that whole string of 18 straight postseason losses. But I think he'll get some consideration, and I just think it was great to see that the Twins honoring him, and having guys like teammates like Justin Morneau and other older players like Tom Kelly and guys like that, come out. And he even said himself in an article that it was very emotional for him because he's a hometown boy and everything. So, and then we went on to beat the Diamondbacks 12-1 in the midst of a sweep of them, which kind of put us a few games ahead of Cleveland, which gave us a little breathing room. So all in all, that's my moment.
Yeah, I didn't watch a ton of Joe Mauer growing up, but I know who Joe Mauer was. Always respected him. I thought he was, I agree with you, severely underrated. I was just taking a look. He's got a career 41.1 wins above replacement, which I think it said was 21st amongst eligible catchers. So I think he's built up a Hall of Fame resume, no doubt, and hopefully he will get in next year. It was a tough season for the Cardinals, one that no one saw, not a lot of people saw coming. What was the at least one positive? What was your one good moment?
All right, I'm going to give a quick honorable mention to Mr. MJ Hurley and his athletics for the reverse boycott. I love that. That was great. The fact that they could do it that easily, just crazy, and it shows that baseball should stay in Oakland and not move to Las Vegas. Bold take. But we got to go all the way back to September 18th, 2023. The day that Mr. Adam Wainwright beat the Milwaukee Brewers 1-0 to earn win number 200 in his last career start. It's the one good. Yes, Wainwright did suck this year. He had a -2 wins above replacement. But he was vintage in his last start, going 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 3 Ks, not throwing a pitch above 87 miles an hour. My king, my hero, retired on a good note, pitched that game with a partially torn labrum that he tore the start before and win 199 against the Orioles in Baltimore. He put it all on the line in his last 2 starts. Yes, he sucked. Yes, the season's going to go how it should have went. He got 200, third most wins in Cardinals history, behind Bob Gibson and Dizzy Dean. Future Red Jacket Hall of Famer for the Cardinals. I want to say he would make the National Baseball Hall of Fame, but I just don't think he's going to get in because the accolades aren't on his side as they should be. But yeah. Thank you, Wainwright. Thank you, Reverse Boycotts. Let's go, Cardinals.
Perfect way to end that. I'll give an honorable mention for one of my moments, and it's an actual non-Cubs moment. So I think my favorite moment of the year was Shohei Ohtani's incredible doubleheader performance against the Detroit Tigers, where he threw, I believe it was a complete game, 1-hit shutout in game 1 of the series. And then game 2, just a few hours later, goes ahead and smacks 2 more home runs. He's going to win American League MVP again, even though he missed a ton of time with no oblique injury, obviously the UCL injury, which required Tommy John. Just battled out a really tough season for the Angels, and he was just fantastic all year long. Another quick honorable mention, Christopher Morel walk home run against the White Sox at Wrigley Field. Amazing moment. Love Christopher Morel. Love his energy. But Ty, I'm going to make you feel a little bit of pain because my favorite moment was while the Cubs were in the midst of their big turnaround, their big 10-game winning streak at the end of July. The Cubs were at Busch Stadium with the lead. Adbert Alzolay was not pitching that well. Nate Burleson was up to bat with a runner on base, smacked a towering shot to center field, but it was caught by the Palatine Punisher, Mr. Mike Tauchman, to seal that game and give the Cubs a dramatic win. The summer of Mike Tauchman was incredible. A guy who was playing in Korea and Japan last year and wasn't even in the MLB, turned his career around in order and was fantastic for the Cubs for most of the year. Did not do great at the end, but I know everyone's going to say the Christopher Morel moment because it's a home run, it's a walk-off home run. But I got to say, as a former center fielder myself who never robbed a home run, seeing a home run robbed with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th to beat your hated rivals.
It would have been a walk-off, too.
It would have been a walk-off. It was very close to hitting that center field grass in that batter's eye. So that is easily my favorite of the year. Shout out to Mike Tauchman. Shout out to the Chicago suburb of Palatine. And hopefully he'll be back on the Cubs next year, stealing home runs, getting on base, and hitting dingers. So shout out to Mike Tauchman. Man. And now we've reached the end of our show. If anyone is still in here, give your non-baseball thoughts and questions and just what's going on. So anything else you guys want to say or talk about that's going on?
Mike Tauchman is Bradley Ray's own. He's a hometown guy here. So that's like the only reason why I got respect for him. But I completely forgot that moment happened. So thank you for reminding me. I did not enjoy that. But, you know what? That's okay. All right.
The bad man can't hurt you for a few more months, so you'll be safe from Mr. Tauchman.
I'm safe for now. safe for now.
Yeah.
I don't got anything else. I said everything I need to say. Let's go Orioles, even though my expectations are low. So let's go Orioles and let's go Diamondbacks and let's go Corbin Carroll. Oh, and shout out Alec Thomas. He hit a home run in the Wild Card Series against the Brewers. I meant to mention that earlier, but I completely forgot about it. So let's go Alec Thomas. Using that bat.
For what? So
I'm done. That's all.
Johnny, you got anything else to say?
Well, I'm just going to say go Twins. I mean, it's been a long time. I'm actually old enough to have seen their 2 World Series wins in 87 and 91. But I know there are a ton of Minnesota fans that haven't seen them win a playoff game. So this year they've gone further than they've gone since 2002 this year when they made the ALCS that year. Got beat by the Rally Monkey in Los Angeles. But yeah, maybe we can, the Astros 6 years in a row now, they're going for 7, made it to the ALCS. Maybe David could take down Goliath this year. So go Twins.
Yes. I agree. Let's go Twins.
Yeah, I'm always up for an upset, especially when it comes with the Astros. I'm always up for an upset. So hopefully that happens. Yeah, I think I'm just excited for the rest of these playoffs. Obviously, I will be able to watch all of these with no stress on my mind, just enjoying baseball. And obviously, it's been a while since I've been able to do that, just because the Cubs' end of the season was very stressful after not being stressful for like basically 2 years in a row. So I'm looking forward to just the rest of these playoffs. And I just want to throw this out there, since this is part of the Third Down Thursdays media empire. I will say, let's go Bears this Sunday looking for their first back-to-back wins in 2 years since 2021, since Matt Nagy was the head coach. So let's go Bears. Hopefully they can find some winning ways, take out a division rival in the Minnesota Vikings. So hoping for that. But in case none of that happens and some bad things happen, it's important for all of us to always have some good insurance. Guys, thank you so much for an awesome episode. Johnny, thank you so much for hopping on and all your work and covering the MLB playoffs for Third Down Thursdays. Where can people go see your work? What do you got coming in the pipeline very soon? And just let the people know where they can read your great stuff.
Well, the Twitter handle is at jball0202. Obviously writing for Third Down Thursdays, so at TDT Media or Third Down Thursdays. Covered all the previews. I'll be covering the rest of the Major League playoffs as we get further and further into the rounds. Also gonna once baseball is done, I'm probably gonna jump on some betting articles. Actually, if any of you guys are into dabbling into some gambling, it's actually I'm up in Massachusetts. It became legal this year in March, so I did some baseball and some football. And I've done all right myself. So I think I'm gonna have maybe a couple of articles with football once baseball is kind of over and at least the twin season over. I'll jump onto the football and we do a couple 5 to 10 bets that I like every week and see how we do the rest of the year. And go Saints. Believe it or not, I'm a Saints fan.
Wow. A Twins and Saints fan. That's not the combination I was expecting.
Yeah, it's a little weird. A couple of the guys who were on the Saints back in the 80s and early 90s were from New Jersey, from my neck of the woods. I grew up in New Jersey. Sam Mills went to Montclair State University, and Ironhead Hayward was from Passaic Valley High School. So had some connections there with some family members and stuff. So when Sam Mills got there in the 80s, was part of the Dome Patrol, became a Saints fan. So, and I stuck with them through thick and thin, mostly thin, but
yeah,
they're doing all right now.
Any degenerate bets for a Saints game next week?
Well, I banged them this week, which was great because they pretty much kicked ass. But
yeah.
Honestly, I haven't really looked at anything for this week coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll definitely think I'm going to start doing that though. Definitely throw some, because everyone likes to throw a few. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a degenerate. I don't throw thousands of dollars on the games and stuff. I bet like $5, $10. So I'm not going nuts here. But like I said, I did pretty well with baseball during the year, and I'm doing all right with football outside of week 1, which I got killed. But we'll see.
Happens.
Yeah, that happens. But yeah, that's awesome, Johnny. Thank you so much for hopping on. Thank you to everyone who watched and commented. We really appreciate it. We'll be back here next Monday at the same time, noon Central, 1 Eastern. For Cy, this has been Jackson. Peace out, y'all.